I'm Leticia Taylor, and my business is Public Pilates on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and publicpilates.com. So I do mat Pilates, and my training, my specialty, I guess, is it's steel Pilates, and it's the equipment and reformer and etc. exercises adapted with props to the mat.
That sounds a lot like what Martin Fields does too, like where you just pull props and just get people to connect with the reformer or the tower or the chair. Does it help if people have been on those pieces of equipment, or can you just kind of talk them through and just tell them what they need to feel and just go from there, sort of thing?
Yeah, no, they don't have to have experience on any of the equipment. It helps, but it's not necessary at all. So it's nice to be able to offer something that might be a little more accessible. Like not everybody has access to equipment.
Sure.
And the lighter props are, sometimes people have them and they're sometimes more accessible. So you can reach people that wouldn't otherwise be able to go into like the full Pilates studio.
Right. Like I saw you like on one of your posts too, like you'd even use, like, I think I have some over here, these sliders, right? Like,
oh yeah, I love the sliders so much.
Sliders and these type things. But
I
you just have people using like
washcloths.
That's what I was gonna say.
Washcloths and paper plates are also really great depending upon
I have a wood floor, so I'm lucky with that. But yeah, they're amazing to approximate like the reformer exercises.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, you were ready for the big pivot, right? It was, it just all made sense for you. That's wonderful.
Inadvertently, yeah.
Yeah. I think Misty and I are going to kind of figure out a flow when to ask you questions and stuff like that. We'll go with that as well. But yeah, that accessibility, like PV Design just said in the chat, accessibility is key. And I think that's the $1 million question. Like we're always here asking, okay, so where's that sweet spot between like making enough money so I can eat and also allowing people to do this in a way where we can afford to get as many people in the room as possible and feeling Pilates, right?
Yeah. Still a major question. Yeah. That's actually part of the reason why I decided to try the membership kind of model also. Just to see, from both sides, like from my side, it's kind of nice to be able to have something to not have to be there, Yes. And it's the virtual era is like, reaching the next level now. So a lot more people are wanting to be or willing to be, doing their workouts online.
Like remotely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Misty is like the expert when it comes to like all things business, and she's helped me with my yeah, totally, for sure. It's like my little micro business thing that I have going on here was sparked by just one simple word that she gave me. So I just want to ask, like, how do you came up with like rolling with the subscription model, and then I'll cut Misty loose, just ask some more questions around that.
I had my teacher does it and has success with it apparently. And I've just seen it, over the years. Now a lot more people are doing it, obviously. But I researched a little bit platforms, and Gumroad was a really cool one because there's no upfront cost.
Okay.
There's a bunch of others like Vimeo I looked into. Vimeo has an OTT thing, and there's a few more, but Gumroad was easiest to just kind of like go on, create an account and upload, and you're ready to roll. You're ready to have your membership going. And they take like a small, percentage for people that sign up. And they have a lot of options, like you can sell a single class, the membership model, there's like a bunch of stuff there.
It's nice to be able to do it in a way that doesn't necessarily need you, standing over the cauldron, stirring, making you you're obviously the integral part, but it's not so labor intensive when you find the right platform that fits the way you want to run your subscriptions, right?
Yeah, it's different. It's like there's still, labor intensity.
Sure.
To make the video. but it's still working for me after I've done it, you know?
That's the point, right? Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
excellent.
absolutely. A show of hands in the chat if you have a subscription-based kind of angle to your
Oh,
work.
I'm curious about this too.
Yeah, so Brooke B. Tyler's here. I know she does that. Christina, Matters of Movement, has one. Andrea, do you as well? I'm sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I find like I mean I think that one day I will do that or I should do that sort of thing because you see that that's the thing. But for me, I'm like I don't know. Like maybe I'll stick to one-on-ones. Like everyone has different things that give them energy as well. Like did you find like
Yes.
it like was it a grind for you to do it? Or did you feel like okay, this is me. Like I'm loving creating content and doing the back end and it's not a stressor to like you know what I mean? That piece to it?
Yeah. I feel like I've found kind of a way to do it now.
Hmm.
I feel like I have to adapt and change as like I find better ways to in my processes to get it done.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I found a little stride. I found like a way to approach it in a system that kind of works for me.
Yeah. Right.
So I know that some people do like a live or like a Zoom class, and then from that they'll just record it.
Hmm.
You know, they might have a class with students and then
Yes.
record
Recycle
that,
that.
upload it exactly. And just if you're teaching every day, you might be able to do it that way. Every day is like, I can't necessarily be that consistent. So I'll do like maybe twice, 3 times a week, or depending on
Hmm.
how my energy is in that month or that week, you
Yes.
know, that energy management is like a big thing. But
And I love that you mentioned that because, you know, everyone has the big idea that they're going to jump out and they're going to start doing this. And where they
the big
always,
idea, yes.
right? You know, it's like, yay, you know what? I can just monetize this and then, and then, and then. And what they really miss is the labor, the amount of energy. You know, you don't want to be on camera like melting because you just
Yeah.
weren't there that day. So it requires a huge amount of planning. You know, when I said earlier about it just, you know, kind of running itself, to get to that point, it takes so much time. And,
Yeah.
you know, how long have you been doing this yourself? Like since the start of the pandemic, or has it been more recent?
I started to upload, you know what? It was 2020, not right in the beginning, maybe not more, actually before. I started
Hmm.
before. I tried one video and it kind of took me forever because I wanted to like, I wanted the sound to be perfect. I didn't have a mic. So I was like, let
Yes.
me dub it over. Let me be like, you know, super duper about it. Um, and there's, you know, the learning curve.
Yes.
So, and then I started to do more once the pandemic hit, or maybe a few months in. I was like, let me commit to this. And it was kind of like a sputtered, you know, it's kind of like starts and stops. Um, and then I guess just recently in the last few weeks or the last month, I started to get a little more consistent and started to have like a little more of a vision about it. Like, okay, started to mold it more into place and like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Started to get, you know, members coming in. So that was exciting
Yes.
and getting good feedback. Like, oh, this makes me feel so much better. Thank you so much. So that fed the fire to keep it going.
Love it. Being open to the you know, the ebbs and flows of it. The, you know what, I
Yeah.
like this part, but I want it to be more. I want it to be perfect in terms of the sound. You know, that is, it's just such an important part of the process. And again, I applaud you for saying that so honestly, because a lot of people don't want to share the
Right.
fact that it is a slog
It's
sometimes to
bloody
get
hard.
to
Yeah.
that place. Yes. And it's
And then I'm
always
alone. I
evolving.
live alone. So like all this chi, somebody mentioned all the chi that is involved.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I have to like gather my energy and like do this, you know, plus all this other just
Yes.
like, you know, pandemic and emotional stuff that's going on. It
Sure.
feels like a slog sometimes. But yeah.
I was gonna say too on that, like when I started doing these core conversations, it took me 4 hours to get a replay up for
Yes,
people.
yes. That's
Four
about how long it takes to
hours.
produce, like in post production.
Yeah.
Because then you need to make a thumbnail and you need to do this and that for the
Yeah.
platform, and then you got to promote it. But what's nice is you can do. I'm sure a lot of people in like the internet or social space are talking about recycling your content that you mentioned,
Yes. Yeah.
or promoting it and talking about it in these other ways, or like taking clips and making it into a reel and doing this and doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So let me paint a picture here. So like I would do this conversation, and then I would set my phone down. I'd press screen record, put my phone down, go do something else because it's lockdown. So I'd go like, make lunch or like do something. Now I can't use my phone, so I can't text anybody. And I
Yeah.
sit there, wait for an hour, and then in that hour, I come back and realize that it stopped like 35 minutes ago because someone had called me, and then I'm like mad at myself and I had to start again. So there's my whole afternoon gone, and then I'd have to
Yeah.
upload it. So after a while, I went on Upwork and I found somebody who now works for me. Now I have an assistant
Oh,
who, as soon as
nice.
these conversations are done, they just grab it, upload it to YouTube, and everything's done. So the 4 hours of my life that I was burning trying to get this up, I just like pay someone to do so that I'm free to do stuff I
Absolutely.
actually love instead of that. So like that there's that trade-off that I wanted to get to where,
Yeah.
there's part of it is letting go of trying to get it perfect,
Yeah.
Mm,
right? And the other part of
hard.
it was getting more efficient with the piece that I'm trying to get up.
100%. Absolutely. 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 Yeah. Yes to all of that. Yes to all of that. You have to be willing to like suck at something for a while and feel
Thank
like a
you.
beginner and feel like a total loser or like inept or like, but you can't pay attention to that. It's like I found it helps me a lot to just not be on social media as much or not paying attention to those things as much and
Hmm.
create a system so I can really focus and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is
Yes.
keep that at the top of the mind.
You're
Well,
right.
I think the other thing is just, again, when you're bailiwick, you would not be in this business if you didn't like teaching. We are drawn
Yeah.
to this because we like to teach and we like to share. We don't like to do the accounting. We don't like to maybe do the video setup and clearly the lighting setup in my situation at the moment. We don't
Yes.
like to do those things. And what Martin just said about bringing somebody in because it wasn't a good economical use of his time. How much time was he burning? And time is money when you're, doing something that's not billable.
Yeah.
Bringing in the experts that do the other things. And people say to me all the time, Misty, I can't afford to do that. Again, you can't afford not to do it once you get to a
Hmm.
certain point where, you're on the precipice. Do I grow my operation? Do I produce more content? Or do I just sit around and really hope I can squeeze another 2 hours into the day?
That's hard. Yeah. 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 That's
Yes. That made me sweat just thinking about that as well. That's the
It's
yeah.
because it's true. It's real talk, right? Like you get to a point and you're like, just when you get comfortable with this rhythm, you're like, okay, I need to grow here. So what?
How?
How?
yeah.
And
So
how in the way
so
that's right for you. That's
right.
something I've been looking at. I've been like getting into this human design thing lately. I don't know if anyone here is into that.
No,
I've heard of
it's
it, but I've not
sure. Yeah.
explored.
I'm like super into that, all that kind of stuff. But human design is basically saying there's optimal ways for you to work, and
Mhm.
some of them may seem really counter to what
Conventional.
social media or convention is telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But people that I've been kind of following and studying in the online space have talked about how it's transformed their business and lives and helped them really, really grow, like make a lot more money and just feel a lot more ease in the process of being a creator and having a business.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh my God. And that's part of this whole my trust myself theme too. My
Hmm.
trust yourself theme is like,
I'm
oh,
I'm glad that you got to it because I haven't touched on it. Yes.
thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's starting to like dawn on me being online so much more the past, year and a half or 2 years. Um, it's just been so like overwhelming and like confusing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like started to dawn on me like, oh, maybe my natural tendency to want to approach something, or like my natural energy flow, is something I should trust more. And maybe there's a way to like have a synergy with that to, be more successful in my business.
I love that. I just scared my cats. They're like going now. But the reason why I love that is because, again, we're teachers, we're movers, we are mentors. Not everybody comes by the business piece of it naturally. And that doesn't mean that you're bad at what you do. It means that you're really good at what you do well. And, I do not do calculus. I tell everyone I'm an ex-dancer. I don't count past 8. I, therefore, do not want to do anything that's going to make me have to count past 8. I don't do my own accounting. I won't do my own accounting. I don't want to go to jail, and I don't have to focus to do my own accounting. It comes back to knowing, even if I say everybody needs a coach, Martin and I talk about this all the time, finding that person that you have a good synergy with that can help you explore your strengths, so that when you're running your business, you are running it as authentically as possible. So then when these other things come about, you're better able to say, ugh, that's not my thing. I don't do that well. I'm going to step away from that and maybe go to Fiverr or something else and bring somebody in, versus that's something that really lights my fire. I want to know more about it. Can I bring that into my sphere, what I'm doing right now, without disrupting my operation? It's about growing at the right time and in the right way. So what was it, human design? I think that makes a lot of sense, because we don't all approach these things the same way.
Yeah, 100%. 120%.
So what would be a practical example of that human design for you? Like, where would you go, counter against the stream to do something that gives you energy, makes you feel alive?
Oh, I don't know. Now I'm on the spot.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you sing and dance for a second while I give an example for myself here. This core conversations, right? Like, I was singing on this podcast the other day. Raphael Bender and Chloe Bunter, Fly's Elephant, they do a podcast, and it's like they recorded the podcast. They had me screen record me doing the podcast. They had an audio engineer who was recording it, and when we did it, it's just like this super polished podcast. And then the YouTube's coming out, and then they'll have the picture of me talking, and then the picture from my screen, and all these different angles. And it's like, well, that's a beautifully polished, effective, no frills podcast. Like, it's authentic, but it's polished. And mine is an audio recording of this conversation.
Oh.
So when you think of it from the perspective of what a podcast is supposed to look like, you're supposed to have your Yeti mic in front of you, and you're supposed to have an audio engineer on the background, and all these different things. And this is just a raw, unplugged conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them work. And this gives me energy, and I get stressed when I think about, okay, now I'm gonna have to contract out all these people to make this sound polished. It's like, but then that leaves a vacuum for these natural conversations.
Yeah, got you. Yeah. I felt like actually making videos, doing the membership thing was more approachable for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I could fall into a little more than doing live classes. I saw a lot of people doing in the beginning of the pandemic, like using IG Live or like doing Zoom. I did some Zooms, but I just felt like I preferred the making of videos. So I was like, okay, let me fall into that. Just so I followed it, and it's good. I like it better. It kind of,
I'm sure that resonates with people too, right? Because some people just don't want to put themselves out there in that where there's no take two environment.
Yeah. And then also I didn't want to like teach for free.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
And of course you can record, you know, if you do an IG live, if you do Zoom, you can record that and then upload it to your your membership or your website. But I just didn't want to go that route. I didn't want to do the like teach for free thing. That was like a big thing for me.
I agree. I talk about it all the time. You know, there are people that, you know, if you really just watch their page enough, you can string together a full class. And, you know, hey, I just
And that's
strung
fine. I
together.
have some videos on YouTube too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that is, there's nothing wrong with dripping out, you know, content free, you know, get people to wet their whistle, so to speak, with what you're providing. But I think it's something completely different, especially in these times where a lot of us, maybe not so much at this point, but a year ago, 2 years ago, we're spitballing to see what was going to work.
Yes, right.
You know, yeah, when you give something away for free for so long, people start to expect it for free. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're the best or the brightest or whatever, you go from free to $50 an hour or whatever it is. And a lot of people will be resistant to paying that. And it's not because your content has changed. You're great. It's that you've devalued yourself. So, you know, instinctually, I think that there are people that feel better with that free content thing. And there are others that just, you know, run away from it. And, you know, I think it all just kind of depends on who you are and if you have a good reason why. You just always have to be able to stand behind it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And to add to that too, just like the on-demand content like you're doing, that is unconventional. Still, we're in a world where people are still more comfortable face to face, right? Like a lot of times people will figure, well, let's just do the online thing until we're back in person.
Right.
But it takes, you know, it takes some energy. It really does take a lot of energy to continue to do the online and to continue to push your on-demand content when there's so many different options. So, I mean, yeah, good for you to continue to build that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, also I think about long term, you know, if I'm gonna continue to grow in the Pilates space, you know, if I get the full cert and I'm able to offer, you know, the equipment classes and equipment training, it's cool to have my platform there and to already have systems in place for, you know, creating videos and developing my teaching and, you know, other modalities maybe that I might take in the future I can offer there, or like thinking about adding dance classes there now. So it's cool to have this thing there, create this platform for myself kind of. So I really like that idea also.
Yes.
The sky's the limit, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Add dance classes, you might want to bring somebody else in and, you know, then they're working for you as well as with you. You know, there's so many ways to go, but, you know, in talking to some of the people that I know in the business, who've been in the business for a while, I should say, you know, a lot of people are saying, I'm leaving the brick and mortar environment. You know, I'm one of them. And it's not to say that I'll never go back. It's to say that I will do it differently. Alternate streams of income are the only way to survive as a micro business. So, you know,
passive income too.
Yes, passive alternate streams. And so when you think about it that way, kudos to you for thinking about it that way. It's still kind of early on and a lot of people haven't thought that far ahead yet. So,
and I think so also, like for posterity, like what if Joseph Pilates had this in when he was working, you know, in the 20s or 30s, and for posterity to be able to access, you know, like your method and you're to see that, have that there is, I think, so invaluable. And I think it's really exciting too for like the future of movement and health and wellness.
Absolutely.
I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
I just want to read a couple of the comments that came through. First of all, Coach Robin Renee, full caps, yes, Misty. I did so much free stuff for years and had to, I guess, restrain myself so people did not expect me to keep doing free things. Yep, you got to break that up. I had to interrupt that, right? So, and
Mhm.
Orhan earlier said, I trust myself, and sometimes I convince my clients to trust me to protect from themselves, right? Like, and
Hmm.
that's an interesting comment, right? Because there's times that we have to really hold our clients' hands and guide them on this path of listening to themselves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what he was getting at there. So I was thinking about that in our earlier conversation, Tisha, just
Yeah,
about
yeah,
like,
that's
yep.
huge. I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
that's a big part. Now I'm thinking about like our role as Pilates instructors or like movement and fitness instructors. Um, and there's an interesting back and forth in my mind. Like you're kind of a guide there,
Yes.
um, for that, for someone's own self trust to blossom.
Hmm.
And it's like it's a pretty cool thing to be able to, and it's also a big deal to like have somebody trust you enough to
Yes.
with themselves in that way.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't, Misty, what's your kind of your line or your one liner that you use to guide people into that? Like for me, I would say like I'm coming alongside you in your fitness journey.
Oh,
You know
I
what I
tell
mean?
people all the time, it is a partnership. We walk hand in hand.
Hmm.
I'm not, I said, I am not a dictator. I'm not telling you how your body is, what it has to be. And if at any point you're doing this for my benefit, we have a power imbalance. There's a problem here. It's not
Right,
about me. And I make that very clear from the initial phone call till forever. Um,
right.
and you know me and trust, it's always about building trust. And I think that trust is such a huge responsibility that when we get people to trust us, it's our job then to make them feel comfortable and confident in knowing that they have us for as long as they need us. And
Yes.
any other way is not a client-centered way of doing things. And i
Mhm.
I have big issues with. There was a post yesterday, and I wish I could remember who posted it, but it was great. It said, um, you know, it's the start of the year. You may be wanting to change how you do things. You may be wanting to go into a gym,
Hmm.
adopt new fitness strategies, etc. If you ever walk into a fitness facility and they're telling you what you need to do, and they're telling you what your goals are, you should be very, very suspect. And that's the
Yep.
way I feel. I think what Pilates has the potential to do better, um, or to how Pilates does stand apart, is that that is not what we're doing, or most of us are doing.
Right.
And that's what I love about this. And
Hmm.
you know, I also think that that's the authenticity piece, right? That's how we show up and do what we do well. Um, is because we're coming to it open. It's not about ego. It's not about reps and weights and squats and all this stuff. It's about what do they need? How do I help them get there?
Right. So the question then is like, how do you bottle that in an on-demand platform? When someone is going to stumble across your page, Tisha, and be like, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to sign up. Like, you know what I mean? Like when your business grows to a point when it's past the, let me tell my friend, they're going to sign up, they're going to tell their friend. When you get a total stranger that signs up for your program, how do we bottle that same verbiage in a way that they can own their movement practice and not feel like they're being told what to do or where they need to be?
It's education.
good question.
I think it comes down to education.
Well,
I think that you know, you have to present yourself. You have to explain what your ethos is. You have to
mhm,
explain why you do what you do. In this space that we're in now, you know, you mentioned social media and people being more connected to social media now more than ever. If we can keep the social aspect in our online platforms, so even though they might not get us in a high touch version, they may still be able to feel as if we're right there with them in the language that we use,
mhm.
in the way we demonstrate. I think, I believe that it's something that can be done, um, if that's what you want to do. some people are just happy, tune into my class. You're going to get a great lesson and that's it. Other people need more than that. They want humor. They want humility. And it's all in how you package yourself, because it's not just selling the platform. You have to remember that you are a big piece of that platform, and therefore you have to show up as a real person, not as a talking head.
Yeah, I agree with that, Misty. And also the education part, I think, is so important, because if it's just an on-demand class, you're not there spotting someone in person. So you have to be really thorough in the way that you're viewing and explaining and breaking everything down. And in that way, it's not like a hands-off kind of a model, the membership model, on-demand model. Like, you really have to be available. And then also, I think having that disclaimer, like, you kind of exercise at your own risk is really important. And also legally.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, that part.
Yes. The biggest part of all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just really being thorough with the education. And then having many parts, like, luckily we can do, like, I have a blog article section on my site where I, break down, anatomical knowledge, or, certain concepts or ways of executing certain exercises, or, like in an Instagram post, you might be able to go into something more in depth, or just being available to folks if they have questions, about how to do something.
Right. A question on that. Now, like Missy just said a second ago, like, social media is social. How much of your personal world do you present in social media for the sake of getting people to connect with what you do and who you are? Like, how comfortable are you with that side of it?
Yeah. I don't think I spill my guts, but I like to show a little bit of the stuff that's not Pilates, like some of the other things that I do that I'm into, or like parts of my day. I don't think I show as much personal as I should. I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that. I don't know. I try to just do what feels comfortable.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Like, what is should? Like, that's the reason why I asked it, because like there's so many different ways to present that. You could be like, this is what I'm eating for lunch, right? Like, or you could be like, this is me setting up for my next online class. Like, you can make it as personal or as behind the scenes as you like, right?
Yeah. I try to stick with what feels comfortable, or with what seems like people would be interested in to know about me, or like, oh, this seems like a fun fact that people would connect with or enjoy knowing.
Right.
Or if I see that people respond, well to something that I've done in the past, that gives me a hint about what to share.
And I think a lot of people want to know that their fitness people are real people.
Yeah.
I spent
100%.
I don't post a lot of videos of me working out at all. And I need to do more. I know I need to do more. I'm telling myself this, and I'm going to do it. But the reason why I don't is because, even when I first opened my studios, and when I had pictures of me doing things online or videos, for some people, they self-selected themselves out because they felt like, oh, if I don't look like that, if I don't move that way. And, that's where the education piece comes in too. I've been dancing for 375 years. It should look good, but my expectation of you is for you to come in as you. And, again, it's a matter of making people feel welcome, even if you're not there to shake their hand.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I like that approach. I think that's a good approach. Because that's the goal. Like, we want more people to be active and move, and to feel the benefits of that.
Yeah.
And being as accessible as possible is, like, is a really good thing.
How did you initially find Pilates? What was your first experience with Pilates?
Online.
Okay.
So I live and work in New York City. I've been a dancer too, a dancer and instructor for like since 2006 or 2007. And that's the main reason. I was just dealing with like some chronic injuries and pain from dance. So Pilates was on my radar, just looking at like class descriptions at like Perry dance or like steps on Broadway or like wherever. And mind you, I'm not classically trained from a young age. I was like, would dance recreationally as a kid and growing up, and had like maybe a little bit of training here and there, but not, I'm not originally from New York City. So I wasn't like this kid who was like dance class kid from like when I was 3 years old.
So you're like the equivalent of like a street baller.
That's funny. Maybe.
Okay.
So
Proceed. Yes.
Around 2012 or something like that, 2012 or 13, I was just having pain, like joint pains and just this chronic pain that was like, really annoying. So I thought, let me look into Pilates. And I just started researching it a lot, reading about it a lot, whatever I could find, looking at the class descriptions, looking at teachers here in New York City and what their background was and how they approached movement and Pilates and et cetera.
Yeah.
And then I found, I started doing pop Pilates on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was like, let me try this out, see what it's about. Pop Pilates and then a few others. There's someone in Australia, I forgot her name. But I found a few things that I liked and I started just doing classes that were on YouTube. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go in person. And I went to Blossom of Bridge Pilates over at Mark Morris. And I was also teaching at Mark Morris. I was teaching Samba and Afro-Brazilian dance there. So I was like, oh, let me just go here to Mark Morris. So yeah, I started taking class with Blossom. And then I got certified with Terry Steele. She was doing a certification at Perry Dance.
Cool.
I got certified, when was that? 2015 or was it 2017? Somewhere around there. So that's the long story of how I got into it.
Now,
but it relieved the pain. It like totally, transformed my body. I don't have that pain anymore. As long as I keep the practice going. I was taking actually for joint pain, I was taking glucosamine chondroitin. That someone like a nurse friend of mine recommended. And then I stopped taking that because, I super love holistic, approaches and all of that. So I was like, oh, I don't need this. I need Pilates. And I was right.
And you were right.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing how people find this work. I will never stop being awed by, how people find it and how everybody has the same story. I was looking to make something better and this has just surpassed anything I thought was possible. And so I love stories like that because it just goes to show the longevity of this work and how when you find the right thing for your body just responds in kind. It'll always be amazing to me.
Yeah, totally. Surpass is definitely the word. Like I wanted to, stop feeling pain, but I ended up reaping so many other benefits, like just feeling stronger, becoming a better dancer, having better balance. And I also kind of wanted to change my movement language and get more into like contemporary and classical and things like that. So that Pilates has been integral, essential, absolutely essential.
I always said that if I had Pilates earlier, I wouldn't have broken my feet right before my career started.
Oh my God.
I truly believe that. It's just, in dance, here you go, Martin, here's your education. But in dance, we do all this stuff to make it look good. It's all about the shapes.
100%.
How beautiful is the shape? And it's kind of like when you see, the beautiful cardboard cutout. I mean, the beautiful scenery in the front. You go behind it, it's just a cardboard cutout. And, there's a lot of tape and sticks and pulling things up. And there might be a little guy holding it. And they say, you stand there for 12 hours until we're done shooting this video, whatever it is. That's what dance is. It's all about faking it until something breaks off of your body. And then you've got to put it back together. And
wow, that was like deep on like many levels.
I wish that I had that understanding. And we always had access to the Pilates equipment, right? It was always there in the studio, especially when I got to college. It was like, oh, yeah, I don't need to do that. I'm invincible. I'm going to live forever. And watch me jump over this bar in one fell swoop. And, just, I used to say Pilates made me bionic in that, I came back from injuries that I wasn't supposed to be able to come back from. And, I before this call started, I was working with my 78-year-old ladies online virtually who adopted the virtual environment very, very well and are killing it online. And I'm like, that's not me. That is this work. Every day I say it. Love it. Every bit of it.
200%. 200%.
We're at 200%. Not one anymore. Sidebar. Go on. That was my only contribution to the dance conversation. Proceed.
Oh, Martin, I know you can shake a tail feather here and there, but Pilates keeps you from shaking it out too much. Right. Yeah, you don't want to sprain a tail feather.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. It gives you the deeper understanding that you need so that you can have like a sustainable movement practice, whatever your movement is, like your preferred activity.
Even gardening,
Yes.
you have, especially when you live, okay, those of you that live in tropical locales, you don't understand this probably. But, those of us in the icy tundra, we only get to garden outdoors for a certain number of months. Like, so when it's warm and you can be out there in the dirt, really realize that I just discovered what dirt was fairly recently. But, you're out there and you're digging and you're hunched over and your shoulders are round, your neck hurts, your butt hurts, your knees hurt. You are rolling like a roly-poly to get up. This works to keep you moving throughout the year optimally so that when it's time to garden, if that's your movement language, your vocabulary, you're able to do it in a way that is not going to have you in traction for 2 months.
Yeah, with ease.
Yes, with ease. A couple comments here. Helen Hayes first saying, I too wish I found Pilates earlier. It would have probably saved me from the hip replacement, and I'm going to have from aerobics and kickboxing, etc. And then Matters of Movement, Christina saying, oh yeah, I train one woman to get ready for the spring. Yeah, that's it. I have a guy that I've been training for the last 6 months, and he did a move over the weekend, and 4-story townhouse to his house, and like you forget something and you got to go down 4 stories, come back up and pack it. And he walked in Monday morning. He's like, I'm not sore. Like I thought that I would be done after this weekend. And I was like, that's exactly what we've been training for.
Yeah. When you see that happening over and over again, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, maybe I want to add something else to my Pilates teaching, blah, blah, blah. And then someone comes in with that story and I'm like, I love this. I'm not changing a thing. We're going to keep doing this forever and ever.
And ever. Yeah.
Yes. Leticia, you said something earlier I wanted to just jump back to. You said the word surpass. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like that's like the secret surprise at the end of our work. Like when someone comes to you and says, my hip hurts, so I'm gonna do Pilates, and then they do Pilates with you, and then their posture is better, and their core is stronger, and then their feet feel better, and then their grip is stronger. Like you surpassed the thing that they came to you with, but you don't want to say in the opening, we're gonna do this, and this is gonna help, and you're gonna feel better, and like overpromise and underdeliver. So we almost under promise by getting them to their goal and then over deliver by them seeing the other benefits in their body.
Totally. That's the way, right?
Yeah.
I read some article by a business person just saying that's like that's a good approach to take, under promise and over deliver. But yeah, and now sitting here talking with you two about this, I'm just like, wow, like maybe Pilates is a little too humble, or like, how do more people, and I think now more people are becoming aware of the real benefits of Pilates and not just looking at it as a
tight butt by
thing
Tuesday
that girls do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think of it as kind of the gift that keeps on giving, so much so that you almost forget that it's gifts because it's just your life. I may have said this story once before in core conversations, so pardon me if you've heard it before, but so I went to a bar mitzvah. I'd been working with, a bunch of clients for a long time, and I went to a bar mitzvah, and this little old guy comes over to me and he says, "So you're the Pilates lady?" And I said, "Yes." Because, sometimes when you're the Pilates lady, it goes one of two ways and it's not
Right.
always the good way. So I was like, "Oh no, what have I done? And who is this guy?" He said, "You've been training my wife for a long time, and I would like to thank you because her bottom has never looked better." I was like, I don't.
that's so funny.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
I, she comes in and does the work. I just, help guide her. He said, "No, no, no. I'm telling you, thank you." And then he just kind of shambled off. I was like, "You can do it too."
You can do it too.
Oh yeah, he
That's
didn't
cute.
but yeah, I mean, it's
Oh,
and that's not. I mean, it's definitely the weirdest time it happened, like during a bar mitzvah, but it's not the only time it's happened. Like Pilates it gives gifts to the whole family.
true story.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's so funny. I forgot to ask you this question. This is like one of my stock questions I ask people. Who is your ideal client, Leticia? Like the person that you would train for free. They walked in and they're a dancer or they're whatever it is. The person that gets you most excited, whether live or in your on-demand community.
Oh, that's a good question. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think maybe it would be a dancer who is like in pain, or like I was, like in chronic pain, or
Mhm.
um recovering from an injury, or um yeah, I think that
Yeah.
would be my ideal. A dancer or a mover, like an athlete
Yeah. Yeah.
who is like, who feels drawn to Pilates but hasn't drank the Kool-Aid yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting people to, when you know what it's going to do for them, and because you've lived that life, it's so rewarding to be able to say, "Yes, look, I know you probably think I'm insane. I am going to talk about this thing like it is some sort of magic elixir,
Because it is.
but it kind of is.
Yes.
So you'll deal with it and you'll love it."
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. And yeah, I like asking the question just to like hear how people formulate the answer because you open with dancer and then you went to injury, then you went to athlete, and then you went to that Kool-Aid. Like you mean like we craft it all the time and that answer is going to change all the time too, right? But there'll be some common thread throughout it. So that's why I like to hear how people answer that question. Like that's almost, I mean, it's for you to answer and continue to answer for your business, but it's for me to just admire how people answer that question at the same time.
Hey, Martin, why don't you tell us how you would answer that question and how, if it has changed over time?
Oh,
Yeah, well, for one, it's so funny. I found my old like original Real Men Do Pilates t-shirt.
Nice.
So um yeah, so introducing men to Pilates has definitely been one of the things I'm most passionate about doing, and athletes, right?
Mhm.
So like getting athletes to recognize that this is a missing link for them in terms of their training. But the way that's evolved over the last little while is my definition of athlete has changed. And I've
Mm.
worked with some people who have chronic illnesses, and having them in the room, someone who is like a stroke victim or someone who has had, lives with fibromyalgia, that sense of wanting to get better is the common element. So it didn't matter if it was an elite athlete who is trying to get more playing time or someone who had chronic illness who wants to get through their day without having to sit down or take a nap or whatever it is. That notion of wanting to get better is the thing
Well,
more
and
than
that in itself is, it's, I don't want to say it's a sport because that almost implies recreation, but that's a gambit, that's a race, it's a challenge, it's
yes.
something that is very, very real and tangible,
Mm,
even if they can't find it, if they haven't found it on their own.
right. Did you hear all that while you're getting your charger?
Um, Sorry. Thanks. I heard that, yes.
Okay.
And then I was also, I don't think you addressed this, but how did you get into Pilates?
Well, I got into Pilates initially when I was going to a chiropractor. So I had like an injury from football, and a chiro basically told me, stop playing football and you'll feel better. And I ignored that, and I was
Of
going to
course.
a Pilates, like a group fitness Pilates class, right? And the more I was going to that class, the less I had to go to the chiro. So like the 3 times a week became twice a week, then once a week, then every other week sort of thing. So I recognized that Pilates was like prehab to the chiro being rehab. So that was my first exposure to Pilates, and then I took like a mat class to learn more about it, and I didn't think I'd teach it. That was more just for my own body. And then fast forward like another 10 years, when I was a personal trainer, there was an opportunity to take my comprehensive Pilates certification, and I figured that that would be a good kind of separator for me as a personal trainer and a sport conditioning specialist, to say that I have Pilates in my hip pocket, because there was no guys teaching Pilates and there was definitely no brothers teaching Pilates, right? So I figured I'd really corner the market there. And then from there, that's where the Real Men Do Pilates came out, because I saw someone was using that handle. I was like, I'm totally going to use that handle, because like men need to recognize that this can be a game changer for them. This is something that can really help them in their bodies. And being
Yeah.
a guy, being a non-dancer guy, so a guy who can't like touch his toes and put his foot behind his ear. I can touch my toes now, but I still can't, whatever.
I can't put my foot behind my ear either.
Okay.
So
Me
just
either.
so you know, I don't feel
Okay.
like that's a disqualifier.
Okay, good. I'm in good company then. So that sort of thing. So that's it. So I present Pilates to the guy, to the dad who wants to keep up with his kids, to the athlete who wants to be better, to whatever. And that's really, I train everybody, but I'm just most passionate and most excited about the guy who comes in and says, my doctor said I need to start exercising because I'm 47 and everyone in my family died at 49.
Mm.
Or my
Yes.
wife has been doing Pilates with you forever and she said that I need this, so I'm here, arms crossed, impress me, let's go, right? Like,
Yeah,
let's,
The finger
totally.
tap, toe tap.
yes.
I love that you're a personal trainer also. My certification, um, Steele Pilates, my teacher, Terry Steele, she has a exercise physiology background.
Very cool.
Dancer also,
Mm-hmm.
Pilates, but I think that combination is really, really awesome. And
Absolutely.
it makes sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
coming from also having an athletic background, like running track, and
Nice.
I had an AFA certification for years, and
Okay.
just part of the personal training was like continuing education that I did. So I
Yeah.
really like that piece of it, having like the contemporary exercise and like fitness principles that you get from there paired with the
Yes.
Pilates is, I think, so great.
It's made Pilates has made my personal training better, and personal training has made my Pilates better, right? So
Yeah.
from both sides. They really do complement one another. So I really, grateful for that.
I think for men too, it's probably a much easier hook saying, oh, I do personal training. Oh, and look at all of this torture looking equipment over here. Why don't you just come over and
Yes.
try? That it's much easier than them walking in and being like, how am I going to work my buys? How am I going to do my squats?
Yes. Right. And most of the time it looks like at the end of the session, oh, and by the way, we just did Pilates for 20 minutes of our session. You didn't even realize it.
Like that.
Nice.
Right.
I like the sneaky workouts.
Yeah, you gotta be a ninja sometimes. So that is like the fastest hour, especially with
So
Misty.
fast.
Like this has been so fun. And I feel like I'm asking everyone for a part 2 these
I'm
days.
down. Let's do it.
Yes, because I mean, there's so much that we didn't unpack, but one of the things I have all these different takeaways. This is the luxury of having Misty here with me, is like when she's saying something super smart, I can just like write it down, and then.
I thought you were just drawing pictures.
No, we're here. But when you said right at the beginning, you simply said suck at something. Like I wrote that down because like I think we need to be uncomfortable, learn, and do something that we suck at until we can feel comfortable with it, or just lean into the fact that we still have to learn.
Yes.
I think
that was great.
That's so huge for everyone, and for teachers or instructors. It's so good to be reminded of that. To just, because it makes you kind of stay humble.
Yep.
And it helps you be more empathic, like have more empathy with your students. Like I've done this 50 million times, but this is their first time ever.
I also think that
Cauthen's mind is, I think,
there is no
to be required.
Sorry,
you cut out there. Can you repeat that last piece?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I said I think it should be required to have this, to do things that make you feel like, to get into that beginner's mind, to do things.
Absolutely.
To keep learning new things.
Agreed. I don't think that there's really any true failure. Sucking at something doesn't mean that you failed at it. Sucking at something, there's a lesson always available, even from maximum suckage. And so if you can be open, if you can be open to the fact that, you're really not arriving the way you'd hoped that you'd arrive, but there's a silver lining in it somewhere. And listen, I'm not one of those positive people that's like, oh, no, it's all strawberries and rainbows. That is not me. But I especially think that when it comes to stuff like this, those moments of humility where you can step back and evaluate in a way that can uplift you are golden.
Yes.
I agree 120%. If not 200%.
Right. I was going to say, back down 120. Oh, no.
No, we're still at 2 or more.
Yeah, such a great conversation. So nice to meet you.
Likewise. This was really fun. Thank you so much for inviting me, Martin.
Oh, no. Thank you for saying yes. It's so easy to say no to these things.
Yeah, no. This might be my first live on my Pilates channel.
Solid.
Save it. Use it.
Yes,
break it apart. Save all of your golden nuggets, because you've said some really brilliant things.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I'll send you the link for it after, and just pull those sound bites out of it.
Please
and just
do.
Use it to reinforce all the stuff that you're doing.
Thanks.
All right. And thank you to everyone who joined us too. I see Carol Onman just came in.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you. Did they change the way they do the comments? I don't see any comments anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know.
Oh,
Comments.
I see people, but I don't see their comments.
What are you on? What device are you on?
My iPad, where I usually am.
Oh, maybe it's an iPad thing. I see everyone on my iPhone.
They change everything all the time.
Did you know that they're rolling out, Instagram is slowly rolling out paid ways for people to get paid doing lives.
Yes. Yeah, just a way that you can click some donation thing. I don't think it's in Canada yet,
I
but
think they were doing like certain select
yes.
users at
Yeah.
first, but that's exciting.
Interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I'm waiting till we're all like doing this together on the Oculus in the metaverse.
Oh, metaverse. Can we talk about that?
I love
next
my
time?
Oculus.
Part 2 with the tech experts, the resident tech
Can
experts.
we
Let's
please?
not go
I'm
that far.
so
I just go there to
interested in
kill
all that.
zombies.
Bitcoin, NFTs, let's talk about it, please.
Oh no.
Wow.
Fitness tech and Pilates.
Oh,
All right.
Well, next
Round
chat
2,
for sure.
yes. No
Thank
doubt.
you, Martin, for this space as always.
Thanks for joining me. All right. Sign off. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. I got some more fun guests and all kinds of good stuff happening. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.